and thanks for joining us for this edition of Tech 24. Coming up, imagine planting a tree in the Amazon thanks to a heartbeat. That's the incredible premise of a new app called One Heart, One Tree. The project's creator, Neziha Mistawi, will be on set to tell us more. And later in the program, we'll be testing a titanium bicycle fresh out of a 3D printer that guides you as you go and has a smartphone app to go with it. But first, he was one of the greatest economists and mathematicians of the 20th century. 86-year-old John Nash was killed alongside his wife in a car crash. The 1994 Nobel Prize winner became a household name thanks to the film A Beautiful Mind, starring Russell Crowe, which charted his struggle with mental illness. Olivia Salazar-Winspear has more.
One last honour for mathematician John Nash. On May 19th this year, he received the Abel Prize in Oslo, an accolade equivalent to the Nobel. Just 5 days later, he died in a car crash along with his wife. He was 86 years old. Nash's academic career started in chemistry, but quickly veered towards what was to be his life's work, mathematics. Studying at the Carnegie Institute of Technology and then Princeton University, he earned a doctorate based on equilibrium theory and non-cooperative games. His research then expanded into the theory of nonlinear partial differential equations. John Nash met his wife, Alicia, during a stint teaching at MIT, a position he was forced to abandon due to mental health problems in 1959. It was only after a considerable hiatus that Nash was able to return to mathematics, eventually winning a Nobel Prize in 1994 for his work on game theory, one of the most influential reflections on the dynamics of human competition. At the news of his death, Princeton University paid homage to John Nash.
John's remarkable achievements inspired generations of mathematicians, economists, and scientists who were influenced by his brilliant, groundbreaking work in game theory.
Groundbreaking work that inspired the Oscar-winning film A Beautiful Mind. The 2001 picture takes in Nash's genius and his battles with schizophrenia. Actor Russell Crowe, shown here on the set with Nash, took the leading role. He expressed his sadness at Nash's death on his Twitter account, sending his condolences to the family of what he called an amazing partnership.
Dhananjay Kandalkar is with us on set to tell us more about Nash's work. Welcome, Dhananjay. Tell us, what were Nash's biggest contributions?
Well, Shona, for a layperson, Nash's popularity stems from his contribution to the concept of game theory. As you know, game theory is essentially the study of models of conflict and cooperation between decision makers. Essentially, that's the whole idea of game theory. Now, before Nash's work, the ambit of game theory was restricted. What Nash did in 1950s was discover this so-called Nash equilibrium, which expanded and widened the horizons of game theory and made it applicable to different scenarios. So, for example, today, game theory is not just restricted to economics, but it is applicable to different fields like biology. There are applications for e-networking, there are networking, e-commerce, there are applications for artificial intelligence, and as well as games like chess and poker. So what Nash did was, with this equilibrium, he really expanded the ambit of game theory, and deservedly he received the Nobel Prize in Economics in 1994 for his giant contribution.
But his contribution wasn't just limited to economics, though, was it?
Not at all. Essentially, he was a mathematician, and his work in mathematics was as significant as his work in economics, which essentially was derived from his, his mathematical...
Right, they're linked.
Exactly, they are interlinked. So what in mathematics, for example, he did great work in geometry, studying the curvatures and the surfaces. He also produced this so-called embedding theorem, which was very important because the subsequent development in this field of mathematics is based on this particular theorem. And it is for this reason that he received the mathematics equivalent of Nobel Prize, the Abel Prize, just a few days before his death. And what is more remarkable is that all this work, the Nobel Prize winning work and the Abel Prize winning work, Nash produced this before he reached the age of 30 years. That shows what a genius he was.
Yeah. Thanks, Dhananjay, for those interesting pointers there on John Nash's work. And now we have our guest. She's a Belgian-Tunisian artist trained in architecture, and she's got a project that bridges tech and the Amazon. Let's welcome Nazia Mistawi to the set. Thank you so much for joining us today on Tech 24. You've created an app called One Heart, One Tree. How does it work?
In fact, the concept is to give the possibility to each person to create a virtual tree, which is going to grow at the rhythm of the heartbeat. So your heartbeat is going to be recorded using an application. So you simply put your finger on the sensor, and I'm going to record your heartbeat with your name. And then you're going to see your tree on the Eiffel Tower, projected as a light tree, growing at the rhythm of your heartbeat on the Eiffel Tower with your name on it.
So as the beats continue, the tree will grow.
Exactly. And then each virtual tree is going to grow in real life. It's going to be planted into a reforestation program. And you're going to follow your real tree in 3 years. So the virtual becomes real, and you have long-term consequences that are directly linked with this poetic and artistic act.
And what is the goal exactly of the app?
In fact, the concept is to start the application during the United Nations Climate Conference, the COP21, that is taking place in Paris next December. And the aim is to plant millions of trees, to give the possibility for each person to have a voice during the COP21, but being active, being responsible, and doing something concretely. So it really connects art and action.
So would you say that technology can play a role in fighting climate change?
I think so. I think everything can find a role in fighting climate change. But the concept of the project is also to show that the future we're heading to is the one we choose. And our technologies do not specifically disconnected with nature. It's up to us. If we want our technologies to reconnect us to nature, we can do it. And that's somehow what I do with this project. You create a tree with your heartbeat, and it starts as something virtual, as something very technological, but then it becomes a real tree, and it has real consequences. And in fact, each tree is going to bring water into the water table. It filters the water. It also brings biodiversity, and it has also local consequences in the different projects, because it always has a strong social impact. And we have 30 different projects all over the world.
Okay, so not just in the Amazon.
Not just in the Amazon,
okay.
On all continents. And the idea is that the project is really a very international project, because in fact you can plant a tree wherever you are in the world, and you're going to receive the picture of the Eiffel Tower with your name on it, because everybody's going to put their name on the Eiffel Tower with their virtual tree, and then again the virtual tree becomes real.
And what about the communities that are actually planting these trees? How are they involved?
They are totally part of the project, and in fact, they're going to be involved on a long-term base, because of course, we're going to follow all the project during 3 years. So each person is going to receive a reporting about the tree on the application, so that you're going to follow your action that you started in December in Paris.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us, Nazia Mistawi, on Tech 24. And good luck with the app. I hear that it's gone Kickstarter for funding.
Exactly. So we just started a Kickstarter campaign 2 days ago. So it started quite well, and we're really happy about it. And we invite everybody to be part of it and plant their tree, because they can reserve somehow their tree today, and it's going to be planted next December in Paris on the Eiffel Tower during the COP21. And we need everybody to take part to it. It's
Great.
really a citizen project, so it needs to involve everybody, as many people as possible.
Great. Thank you so much for being with us today. So this week, Dan and Jay, for Test 24, you've brought us a bike made from a 3D printer. Tell us about what's special about it.
Well, there are 3 things special about this bike. First of all, it's a connected bike. Second, it's made of titanium. And third, it's 3D printed. I mean, the frame of this bike is 3D printed. Now, let's start with the first speciality. So it is a connected bike, which means it has an inbuilt GPS system, which you can use with an app. This phone is connected to the bike using Bluetooth. So basically, you can select a route in the city, and wherever you want to ride, you can select the path. And once you start riding, there's an interaction between the app and the bike through GPS. And suppose if you preset a route and there's a left turn, there's a haptic feedback in the handlebars. So there will be vibrations in the handlebars. It will tell you. So for example, if you want to turn left, the left handlebar will vibrate. you get to know, oh, so this is where I'm supposed to turn. And the closer you get to the turn, the more intense the vibrations become. So that is a very cool feature about this bike. The second, of course, it's made of titanium. It's a technology demonstrator. Titanium is very durable and a very strong metal. And third, as I mentioned, it is 3D printed. So another, it just shows the kind of strides that 3D printing technology has taken in recent times.
So we're seeing more and more things, though, being made by 3D printers. What's so special about this bike?
Well, this bike shows that optimization is very much possible in 3D printing. So, for example, if you go to a shop and you want a bike of your choice in terms of size and design, and you may not find it there, but it's something that you can do using...
You can get it made.
Exactly, using 3D printers. So this bike the frame, for example, was made out of titanium powder. It just took 24 hours to make the frame. So it shows how easy it is to use 3D printing. Of course, there are different aspects like the tolerance, the strength of the metal that needs to be, similar to the traditional made bikes. But once that barrier is overcome, I think the optimization and the design through 3D printing can make this very exciting. And just for the record, this bike, the entire project of the bike costs around $50,000. This bike won't be on the market, just a technology demonstrator.
Okay, so how much would they cost for individuals?
Well, ideally, as 3D printing technology becomes more popular, everyone should be able to afford 3D printers, and the 3D printers themselves should be flexible to make different products. So I don't know, right now the cost could be exorbitant, but in the coming future, I'm sure the cost will go down.
Well, thanks for bringing in the bike, Dan. We'll see how it works in real life. And thank you for watching. That's the end of our show, but you can find us on Facebook or Twitter. Our hashtag is Tech24. See you next time.